Okay, let's begin with the painting. This is Don Pavlica in Howell, Michigan, and this is Katarinas tiger. And this is what I refer to as the source image. And I got the source image from, as you might recall, from taking a color photo into Photoshop and turning it black and white. And in this case, what I did for this specific image was I used some filtering that I really enjoy working with. And I'm going to show you that in a second as well. But here, what we've got a save as. And what I'm going to do is go right to the desktop, right to here, and I'm going to have a new folder, and I'm going to just call that painting. Very simple. I don't want to make things too difficult in my life. Anyway, I've got Katarina, got to stick an E in there. Source. The Topaz is a filtering system that I just absolutely love, and it is a pretty neat way of enhancing the appearance of a black and white photograph or any photograph before bringing it into Corel Painter. In this case, I'm going to just save this as a source, and that way I'll be able to pretty much find it anywhere I need to look. Now, what I'm going to do to save the original image, so I don't in any way destroy it, I'm going to go ahead and clone it. And I'll go through my normal process here of preferences and just making sure my brush tracking is going to be good and acceptable to me. And I think that's about right. That took a whole 5 seconds. I'm going to apply that to the current brush, which is this under Corel Painter are all the brushes, and right here is Oils Glazing Flat. That's going to be my primary brush throughout the entire process. So I want to save this variant, what I've just done, to that. Now what I want to do next is open up a blank document, and I want to check some things out here in particularly this area, which is called feature. But to see it, I'm going to open it up a little bit, and you see that this has gone up in proportion to my size of 14.6. If I moved it up to 20 something, the size would go, feature would go to 6.9, and I'm down to 11, it's 5.1, and so on and so forth. This little guy right here, you'll find is the, at least it's been my experience, that this is the key to the style of painting that I'd like to do. So I have just calibrated my Wacom tablet to the pin and the amount of pressure that I'm going to be using here. And so what I'm going to do is turn this into a paintbrush with a reset of about, I'm usually in below 20, somewhere around there. So for this demonstration, this is good. And you'll see in here the thing that's really important to me is how this is going to end, as well as how it's going to start. Very similar. So when I'm painting and I'm doing back and forth strokes, the ends are in pretty good shape. Now my normal size is probably going to be around, let's say it's about 5. You can also just click in here. I'm just going to put 6 with a feature of 3.4, and that's fine. And this is what this is going to look like here. I'm going to Command Z to get rid of these little strokes here. And you'll see here that it's pretty much the same all the way through this ending. Maybe I want to back this off. Let's try 3.0. Now let's see if we can make that a little more painterly for the effects that I want to have. Not too bad. I'm going to try 2.5. There we go. Now, if I bring this in, you will see that the tail of the stroke looks more like a hair. So this did a pretty good job up here, and I'm going to change it down to about 3.0 and open this up to about 3.5. These are important because you want your painting to, boy, you want it to look right. And you just have to play around with this thing a little bit until you get it to exactly the way that you want it. Okay, a little bit down here. I'm going to go back up to 3 and see what that looks like. There we go. I like this end, and I like the beginning right in here. To see it in a different color. And what's nice about this particular brush, not all of them, but this particular brush you can make into a blender, which is, boy, you're going to be using it a lot if you work on graphite paintings. And here I'm just blending, and I'm taking that color that we've got in there. You can see how just a nice effect that this thing has, and it's a wonderful way to add some unique styles to your painting as well. And that would be very acceptable to me, this type of a ending and beginning. So what we're going to do, I'm going to hit Command W to get out of this. We're not going to save it. We're back at the tiger. So we're ready to go. Now we're going to go ahead again, and I'm going to clone it again to save the original image, and we're just going to begin. We're going to take a little area at a time here, and you'll see what I'm getting at. I've got this set to a blender. I brought the resaturation down to 0, and I've got the color wheel off. And you'll begin to kind of see how nice that looks. And what we'll do here, we're not going to do the entire painting, but we certainly are going to work on a nice portion of it, so you get an idea of some of the strokes and the angles that I work with, and how I hold my brush makes a very important footprint on the painting itself. So whether I'm holding it just right on the tip, or if I've got it at an angle, all these things come into play. So what we're going to do here, just for a few minutes, I'm going to take it very slowly. You all know about my patience, and that's okay, because we're going to take this little block that I'm currently working in and go ahead and just paint it. I'm going over the original hairs of the tiger, and you can also see as I blow this guy up a little bit with my tablet here, it's got the nice effects on the tail of the stroke, which is exactly the way that I want to have it. So in any way, I'm just going to kind of keep on going, and what's nice about this part of it is that you're doing it near and going into a darker area of the painting, which is only going to highlight your effects even a little bit more. I'm talking about this area of the color of the tiger, which in this case is pretty close to a very light black or a very dark gray. And we're just going to continue to go here. I'm also going to have later on in this video a nice little surprise for you. I'm going to go to the website of Lois's site, who is the lady who had a webinar a few weeks back, and during the webinar she painted a graphite painting, and it just, as they said back in the day, it just blew my mind. And I said, I have got to go at this. So since that time, I've probably painted in the last month, gosh, at least 4, if not 5 styles of graphite paintings. Now again, the process is maybe slower than what you're thinking you'd like to have for a painting, but it is what it is. And I want to make sure that I remain very calm and patient during this process as well. So here I'm also going to go right in this area here. See how this is kind of a couple of different shades of gray, and I'm going to make it just a little bit darker by bringing up this area here, and the same in here. Only I'm going to go along the edge, and to highlight that area, I'm going to now take it somewhere below 20, and we are going to put a little bit of white in here. So that's right, what we want. And gosh, if I remember right, it was right in here. See how this is nice and white, and also nice and white here. I'm not pressing very hard. I'm just going very, very lightly on my Wacom tablet with the pen that I use. And now I'm going to go back and blend this stuff back in. So I've turned the color wheel off, and now I will take this down to 0 reset. And I'll even make it just a hair bigger, so I make sure that I get what I want to get. Okay. And then there's another way of doing some things too, and that is I'm back in the white. I'm going to turn that reset up. Anywhere between 10 and 20 is fine for me. I'm going to bring this down to, I'm going to make this just 3.5. And we're going to take some of the gray area. We're going to add some light color to it, okay? And this is really going to show up nice. I may not look so hot right now, but I'm going in the middle of these gray strokes, and there's a reason for that. It really helps me to build depth, and which is what I want to have when I'm doing this. So now I'm going to go back to 4.0 on the size, which will be a little bit bigger. The resaturation will be now turned back to 0, and the color wheel will be off. And there's some gray. See how that just very nicely, it really started to, you may not be able to see it too well, but it's starting to add what I call depth to these particular strokes. You can see it particularly in here and where I'm writing the white wave of this gray area. So we're going to continue with this for a few minutes so you get an idea of the fun you can really have in working in graphite paintings. They're just an absolute delight to do. And again, I'm going to just go down, down, down. And now I'm going to go back and forth a little bit here. Because that sometimes is just the way hair is. And it's not going to be all gray or it's not going to be all white. It's going to be going back. If you've ever done any portraits of people, you'll see that type of an effect anyway. It just kind of goes back and forth. Unless somebody's dyed their hair all one color. But in any event, that's what we're going to do and continue to do for just a couple more minutes, and then we're gonna take a little bit of a break, and then I'm going to show you. Now here we've got some area of the skin as well as hairs, and I've got really a couple of unique options here. I can go and make this all gray, which will blend in very nicely. Or I can have a darker gray and some hairlines as well. And I don't know how it's going to end up until I start it. And I think that's fine for this little area back in here. Yeah, it's coming along. I have to keep telling myself, it's looking okay, it's looking okay. And you saw how I was able to bring in with the blender oil glazing flat brush, just bring this white area up. And here I'm going to bring the dark area down. Yeah, I kind of like that. You have to be pretty pumped up when you see some of the magic that is actually in these brushes. It's magic. So what I'm going to do is not paint a magic bus, but I could just do this all day, and quite often I do work on my paintings for quite a long period of time. And if you would ever like me to do a painting for you, heck, just contact me. Pretty easy to work with, and if you're local here in Michigan, we can meet as long as you're not in the Upper Thumb or the UP, or but if you're around Detroit, Ann Arbor, Livonia, Novi, we could work together and get a painting done for you. And also, I'm also going to be offering one-on-one teaching web classes, not web classes, but classes with individuals as well as with groups here very soon. And if that's of any consideration to you, just keep it in mind. I'm going to be mentioning that fact here throughout my paintings, because I want everybody to know that I'm available. I had been asked so many times in my shows. I was doing shows about every 2 weeks last year, and I'm going to cut those down considerably this year. I'm a retired fellow, and I'm not quite as young as I once was, and it really wore me out. I usually get some pretty big spaces, and then putting up the tent, or tents, plural, and then putting all my paintings up in the order in which I want them, and then, after that's done, the show takes off, and then we gotta take all that stuff down and put it away, and putting it away is so time consuming for me. I just want to make sure by experience I had small scratches on many of the canvases that I painted. And so now I'm much more careful about it. And when I do that, and when I am very careful about it, it just takes me longer. It takes me at least 2 hours to take down from a show and put it in my trailer before I leave for the evening. Here, I'm going to go back and forth just a little bit. Okay, hopefully I wasn't too gabby, but you're getting an idea as to how I paint. And you don't have to paint in this manner, but this is what I do. And it's just it's a joy for me to be able to have certainly the health to do this and work at something that I enjoy, and just paint and paint and paint. I think those of us who have worked with Corel Painter probably feel the same way. It's something we can spend hours with and never ever tire out completely. So I'm going to be doing some, hopefully I'll be doing some instructing and having one-on-one sessions with people in the area. But anyway, this little area here, I don't know how much time I took, but I know I took some time. And we're just going to take a break for a second, and I want to show you Lois's website so you get an idea of the power of her paintings. So stay tuned, and we'll be back at the painting after I save it properly. Now I'm going to go Save As. It brought me to the file, 2A painting, and I'm just going to have her initials, Katarinas Tiger 2 _001. And the next time I do a save, it's going to have the same information, only it will have 2, so it keeps it in order, and I'll show you how to do that as well. But Painter Riff is the Corel Painter file that, or type of format that you use to continue working on your paintings in Painter. So we'll save that, and then we'll get down here, and we'll get up here, and we will stop. Okay, now we're going to take a peek at Lois's site. She had a webinar about a month ago that I attended along with many others, and there's one of the horses that she was showing, and you can tell by these brush strokes in here that I pretty much got her brushed down. In any event, there's another wonderful graphite painting. This is her website, loisstanfield.com, or you can just Google her name and see all of the marvelous paintings that she has done for pets and equestrian types of paintings, horses and polo. There's a marvelous painting right there from a photo she took. And it just goes on and on and on. And you can look here at your own leisure about the workshops and testimonials and so on that she's having and has had. So in any event, there's a quick peek at that, and we are going to now we'll move along back into the painting itself. And as you can see, I've done a little more work on the painting in pretty much all of the areas. Now I want to do some enhancements to it, and also continuing with my brush strokes in certain areas. So I'm going to keep this at a reset. Size is maybe I'll go with about a 5 here and see what happens. And a feature of about 3.2. You just have to try these things out on your own to see what's going to be the best for you. So in any event, you can see it here. I'm doing and bringing and blending and moving and shaking and baking and just all sorts of neat things. I got some depth here and here and here, along with here, so I don't want to fool with that too much. What I want to be able to do is to get some of these strokes that are near a darker area into an area where you can actually see the end of my stroke, and how delicately this can really enhance your credibility as an artist. Just taking your time. I have to keep on telling myself, take your time, Don, take your time, slow down. Or as my kids tell me, chill, Dad, just chill. So I chill and I slow it down, and you can see how this is moving along very nicely. I want a lot of consistency throughout the entire painting. I don't want this type of a look here. So that's what I'm kind of leaning up towards, is what I want the viewer to see is the work that I put into it. This isn't where I sit down and rush through anything at all. And it's so important to maintain that consistency throughout your graphite painting as much as you possibly can. Here's some nice depth that I've got there, and it's just looking so much better than what it was when I first got into this area a couple of seconds ago. And now I'm going to do the same thing here. Only I'm going to go back and forth a little bit. It looks like I was working on an angle in here, so there's a reason for that, and I'll probably continue to do that as well. Not throughout this entire area, but into this area in here. I want to make this a little darker in here, not totally dark, but just darker, so you can see, and the viewer can see, the tail of my strokes. I hate to keep saying it that way, but it is what it is. You know, this too shall pass, but not for now. We're going to keep working at this for quite a while before it comes to a conclusion for me during this tutorial. But I'm not going to do the entire painting. I'm going to give it a break here at this point. And then what I will do is bring you back. To keep all of us motivated, what I want to show you again is the finished product. And in the areas that we were just working in, near this area of the chest, this is how all of this eventually turned out. And what we've got here is something that I really work hard at getting, and that is consistency and being able for the viewer to see all of this work, because there's a lot of work that's put into it. Just because it's a digital painting doesn't mean that it didn't take time. It took a lot of time, probably more so than an acrylic or watercolor. Not all the time, but you know, there are very great painters themselves out there today that are doing magnificent work. But my chosen love is digital painting. So this is how it's going to look here shortly. and what I'm going to do is take another break, and we'll be right back. Okay, you can see here in the final conclusion that I've already put my John Henry in there, my signature, and for which I use this brush right here, a calligraphy pen, and it's always enough to see my signature. I don't want it to be overbearing, but this is what I use. So what we're going to do here, and to wrap this painting up, is maybe a little more work in this area. This area in here is just absolutely slick, as I would call it. I've got everything that I have worked for. There's consistency in the beginning of the stroke and the end of the stroke. It looks like it's hair. And more importantly, it looks like it's hair on a tiger. So anyway, let's just wrap this up, maybe in this area a little bit here. Just for a second, I'll go back into resaturation at 0. And with a feature of 3.2, and the color wheel color is off. You hit this little stamp tool here, it will turn it back on. We're going to have it off as a double check to make sure that this is going to be a blending brush now. Keeping in mind, when I set this back to 0, it does turn into a blender, as you can see right here. I just want to make sure that I've got everything just the way I want it. There's been so many times, and I've gone back months and sometimes years later and go back and continue with where I thought was a finished painting. I had one painting of a sports figure that, my gosh, all in all, it took me 3 years before I was totally satisfied with it. And he has that painting. That is Justin Verlander of the Detroit Tigers. So, and maybe in here, okay, yeah. There we go. Okay. I've gotten all of the uglies, most of them out of the way. It looks, I'm pretty well satisfied with this area right here. And also along here, it looks good. Let's straighten that hair out a little bit more and make this a little bit thicker here. Here you can see I was just putting some motion into this, and then I came back and had this type of motion because that's the way it was on the tiger. It just doesn't always lay flat. And so we got to continue just to work at these things and go back at them. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've had a painting, what I thought was finished, and go ahead and print it out, and take it to shows, and put it on the web. And then eventually one day I look at it and say, how did I miss that? I catch something that I didn't catch the first time. And if that's frustration, I don't know what is. If that's not frustration, I don't know what is frustration. So we will let you go. I'm going to have a couple more things to say. And again, thank you for your time. And we'll be right back. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for their time the past half hour or 40 minutes in allowing me into your life for a little while to show you some of my painting techniques. Again, this is my website, djpavlika.com, and there you can see most of my paintings that I've done the past couple of years, as a matter of fact. And again, a way to contact me is just select this and it'll open up, and fill in this information and send me an email, or just send a email to don@djpavlika.com. And just one more reminder, I'd be willing, and I really have a desire to work with people here in southeastern Michigan, really throughout the world. Anybody that would like to have a Donald Pavlika original painting, we can work together to get it done for you. And if you're locally here in the greater Detroit, southeastern Michigan area, I'd be more than delighted to work with you on maybe one of your projects, or if you'd like to learn a little bit more about Corel Painter. And I'll be having some more in-depth videos that are going to be very bright and very colorful here in the very near future. Thank you, and you make it a great day.